I'm going through about 25 business plans. And what happens is I get these business plans back and they're massive. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a social media star. And then I'm going to be a massive door knocker. I'm going to door knock 10 days a week. We only have 7 days in the week, but I'm going to door knock 10 days a week. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then guess what happens 2 weeks into January? You quit. 2 weeks into it, right? You quit. So if something's super duper complicated, we're probably not going to continue doing it. So whether it's going to your DTD2, focusing on your sphere and building a plan around that, or it's just circle prospecting, or it's just this, or it's just that, the simpler we make our plans, the more likely we are to stick to them, because it's time on task. What?
Over time.
Over time. It's time on task over time that equals results. That is the success formula. Time on task, line over time, just like a division, equals results. All right. But most of us give up right before we're getting ready to have the massive result. So I want to talk about really quickly about this first chapter. So I'm just curious. Has anybody here on the call ever hit a wall? Am I the only one?
No.
No? So everybody show of hands. Who's hit a wall? Ready? Right? We've hit a wall. Regardless what it is, you know what I'm talking about. I want you to listen to this. Hit a wall. And when until I hit a wall, I did not connect my results with my approach until I hit a wall. I did not connect my results with my approach until I hit a wall. When I hear people say, I will outwork anyone all day long. Okay, I get that, and it's admirable, but you don't have to, right? What is your approach? He said, in less than a decade, we built a successful company with national and international ambitions, but all of a sudden, things weren't working. All of a sudden, things weren't working. And for all the dedication and hard work, my life was in turmoil. Many of you may not know this, but Gary Keller's wife, and he talks about this, had an affair with Mr. Williams of Keller Williams.
Ooh.
Right? He came home one day, his stuff was gone. So for all my dedication and hard work, guess what he was doing all the time? And he'll tell you this. He was out working everybody. And guess what happened?
Burnout.
Well, not only that, but he lost his family. Lost his family. My life was in turmoil, and it felt as if everything was crumbling around me. Everything. I was failing. This is on page 7. And to me, it's right here. It just digs at my heart because I do love Gary Keller. I think he's a very genuine man with a lot of integrity. He's very upfront and to the point and bold and blunt. But to imagine someone is working so hard for something and to come home and then that's happened. And he said, something had to give. Something had to give. And so he got a coach, and that coach told him, you just need to do one thing to turn this thing around. You need to go hire these 14 positions. So it sounds like So Gary Keller basically hired these 14 positions. I'm hearing TV or something in the background. Let me see. Where am I hearing it? There we go. He hired these 14 positions and he fired himself. Well, then he started coaching all of these agents. I'm getting to my story. I promise this is going to make sense. Then he hires all these 14 people and he has to start coaching them. And when he's coaching them, they're getting frustrated because they're coming to him week after week after week and they're not getting their to-do list done. They're not getting it done and they're frustrated and he's frustrated. And so he started out of desperation. He started asking the question, If you could just do 3 things this week, what would you do? If you could just do 3 things. So let me ask you that. Do you have something to write with right now? If you could just do 3 things this week to grow your business, what would it be? Write them down. Write down the 3. What could you do? Talk to people, right? Talk to people. What's number 2? What's number 3? Write that down. If you could just do 3 things this week. Now, I want you to ask yourself a different question. If I could only do 2 things this week to have massive success in my business, which one of those would you cross off? Which one of those 3 would you cross off? Now, if I can only just do 1 thing, if I was only allowed to do 1 thing every single day, 52 weeks a year to grow my business, what's the other thing on that list that you would cross off? And the one thing that you're left with is probably the thing you should be doing every day. And so Gary came up with this question, and I want you to write this down, please. What's the one thing, write it down. What's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything becomes easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And underneath that, I want you to write, go small. Go small. Guys, this business is really simple. But Zillow and Boomtown and Commissions Inc., these are CRM companies I'm talking about. And of course, we all know who Zillow is. And coaches, real estate coaches, and social media gurus, and all of these people, they make this business really, really difficult. They want you to think that it's a difficult business, and it's not. Now, hear me when I say everybody needs a coach. Raise your hand right now if you know who Tiger Woods is. Raise your hand if you know who Tiger Woods is. Okay, I mean, that was a rhetorical question, right? We know who Tiger Woods is. Tiger Woods has a coach. He has a coach. He has a team of people. So everyone needs a coach, but it's a coach to help you figure out what is the one thing that you need to do every day, such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. But why do we, I want to hear from someone, why do we fight focusing on one thing so hard? I mean, think about it. Think about it for you. If you had to get up every day and do the same thing every day for 3 hours, why do we fight it? Someone tell me. Someone tell me, why do we fight it? It's not a trick question. Why do we fight it? Renee, why do we fight it?
Why do we fight it?
Why do you fight doing the same thing all the time?
Right, say that again. Why do I fight?
Why
doing
would you
what?
fight doing the same thing every day, all the time?
I
the
get
same
bored.
way?
I get bored.
Oh, see, it's an easy answer. I get bored. I get bored. And so what we do is we start doing different things, hoping for the same result. But the reality is if we get really, really good at doing one thing really, really well, that one thing should be able to drive our business. And I promise you, if you stick with me over the next couple of weeks as we go through this book, this will all make sense. I want to read something to you. Going small is ignoring all the things you could do and only doing what you should do. Going small means ignoring all the things that you could do and doing what you should do. Being on this call every morning at 8:30 is going small. You might be on this call a little bit and you might say, okay, I've heard this a million times. Or you might say, okay, that's something new. That's cool. But at the end of the day, being on this call every day, being on James Shaw 8 a.m. call every day, that helps prime your brain to go small and focus only what you should do. So let me ask you this. You don't have to raise your hand. Write it down. I want you to see it. What is the first thing you're going to do when this call is over? Not what you think you should be doing, but what are you going to do? And is it the one thing that such that by doing it, everything else in your business becomes easier or unnecessary? And that's what this book is challenging you to do, is to strip out all the junk and go right to the point. And here's the thing. You want to know why we don't like it? Because it means we have to call and talk to people. It means we have to call and talk to people. We have to bother them while they're at work. We have to bother them while they're in their pajamas, sipping their coffee. We have to bother them. We think we're bothering them. And if you don't have anything of value to offer, you probably are. Right? But that's a whole nother conversation. So it's the one thing. Most people, extraordinary results are directly determined by how narrow you can make your focus. By how narrow you can make your focus. So one of the things that we do in our coaching with my coaching clients is we have a business plan and we have a goal, and then there's 3 priorities to hit that plan. And underneath each priority is strategies. One priority, there's one priority that if you were to do that priority every day and you have really good, specific, big enough strategies, and you do that every day, your entire business should be able to grow just on that. And then once you master that, then you earn the right to move to the next strategy, right? And every agent that I have coached that has gone from 7 or 8 million, that is now at 20, 25, 30, 50 million, they all did it based on that premise. One of them did it cold calling expireds. One of them did it DTD2 through their sphere. One of them did it through events. Just events, right? So the thing I want you to hear is that when you make this business too difficult, you burn out and you decide to go get a job, a 9-to-5er. That's what happens with most real estate agents. They decide to go get a job, a 9-to-5er, because they burn out because they're trying to do too many things for very little effect. Very little effect. When you can do one thing and build a really big plan around it and do that every day for maximum effect. Okay. Actually, he says it right here. You need to be doing fewer things for more effect instead of doing more things for more side effects. So Bradley, you don't have to talk because I know you're sick, but when you train people to work out, you could literally focus on a few muscle groups Monday, Wednesday, Friday, another few muscle groups Tuesday and Thursday, and you could do that and keep doing that over and over and over, and you're going to get a result, right, Bradley?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to get a result.
Well, if you look at trying to grow, let's just use like a bench press. If you only bench press once a week, but you work out legs, you work out back, you work out, you do cardio the rest of the week, your bench press isn't really going to go up that often. But if you work it 3 times a week, 4 times a week, not all heavy weight, but like you just work it, so you're working those muscles, the weight is going to go up and you're going to get better at it because just you're going to get better at the form, and then you're going to basically get better at it. And it's impossible for it not to get better.
Mm-hmm. So just like that muscle, your lead generation is a muscle. Thank you, Bradley, so much. Your lead generation is a muscle. And so how many of you on the call today are willing to say no to everything else, to say yes to the one thing? Guys, there is a reason that the NAR says that 87% of agents are out of this business in 3 years or less. You get licensed, 87% are out. That's a crazy stat. That's a crazy stat. And they're out and they don't have to be, but they elect to go back to do a job to being told what they have to do instead of getting up every day and doing the one thing that's most important to grow their business so that they can have maximum freedom. And one of the agents I coach, she came to me and she said, I got offered this amazing opportunity. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. I love it. Let's talk about it. She goes, yeah. And I said, well, what are your hours? And she told me what her hours were. And I said, so you're going to be working a 40-hour week? And she's like, yeah. And it's just going to help supplement my income. And, I mean, I'm just really having a hard time making this work in real estate. And I said, okay, so you're going to go work a 40-hour week, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, and in that 40-hour week or that month that you're working, what do you think, based on the kind of company that you're going to work for, is the opportunity for you to work some overtime? She goes, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to work some overtime for sure. I could end up working 40 or 45 or 45 hours a week. And I said, do you work 40 hours a week on your business? No. How much time do you spend lead genning? 2 hours a day. What are you doing the rest of the time? So let me ask you this question, person that I was coaching. If you were to focus on your business 40 hours a week, what would it look like? But yet you want to go get a 40-hour week job because it's easier. Because real estate is simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy.